Materialism says you're just atoms bouncing around, a meat machine with no soul, no higher purpose, and no meaning beyond survival. But there are 5 cracks in this story so big that once you see them, you can't unsee them. Let's rank them from the weakest crack all the way up to the strongest.
If he were telling the truth, he wouldn't have told us.
Unless, of course, he knew you wouldn't believe the truth, even if he told it to you.
At number 5, the paranormal. Millions of people across every culture and every age report encounters with ghosts, spirits, or even aliens. You don't have to believe every story, but you can't ignore the sheer scale of testimony. Materialists wave it off as hallucinations or imaginations, but here's the problem. Even if 99% of these reports can be explained away, what about the 1% that can't? When military pilots capture UFOs on radar doing impossible maneuvers, when people describe shared spiritual experiences, materialism just shrugs. That's why this sits at number 5. It's real data points. I've seen this firsthand. I shared a story of an atheist and his girlfriend who mocked God. Days later, they were attacked by a demon, and when I posted it, half the comments were, "Oh, I'll take things that never happened for 500, please." People would rather laugh than face reality. That's how deep the denial runs. It's cognitive dissonance at its finest. Oh, if you're enjoying the content so far, please make sure to like, follow, and share for more provocative content like this. Number 4, near-death experiences. These aren't just dreams in a dying brain. We're talking about people clinically dead. No heartbeat, no measurable brain activity, yet they come back describing events, conversations, and details doctors later confirm. Imagine someone flatlines on the operating table, yet later describes a sticker on the backside of the fan blade in the room. That pushes us to consider, if the brain was off, what was perceiving? One of the most famous cases is Pam Reynolds. During a rare brain surgery, doctors completely drained her body of blood. She was hooked up to machines that monitored her brain, and it was completely silent. No measurable activity at all. Yet in that state, she experienced what's called an autoscopic event. She saw herself from outside her body. Pam later described the surgical tools in exact detail, even noting the one that looked like an electric toothbrush. But the most jaw-dropping moment, she told the doctor she saw them switch surgical access from her right leg to her left because the vein on the right was too small.
And usually after these typical questions, how are you feeling after the tube was removed from her by extubation and she was able to control her airway and she was becoming more lucid? Well, she had a lot to talk about. She began to describe some details about her operation, and as she spoke, I became spooked. She talked about her blood vessels in her groin being cannulated and being too small. She talked about her heart being shocked twice, giving me details that she just shouldn't know. I sort of put the kibosh on the conversation. Pam, you need to get some rest. I'll come back later. I went to my chairman and told Dr. Spetzer, you need to talk with Pam Reynolds. She's describing stuff that she just shouldn't know. This ain't right. Functionally speaking, Pam was dead.
She couldn't have known that. Her brain was offline, and yet she perceived it. Materialists like to brush this off as hallucination or what some call fighter-pilot syndrome, visions caused by oxygen deprivation. But Pam's case debunks that. This wasn't a fuzzy vision from a stressed brain. Her brain was completely non-functional, and still something was awake. Something was aware. That's why this crack in materialism is deeper than the paranormal, because it doesn't just challenge the story, it undermines the assumption that consciousness is locked inside the brain at all. So for all the NPCs that have used this terrible and weak argument of fighter-pilot syndrome can kindly sit down and take some notes.
You're what we call an NPC.
NPC, that I don't understand. So I'm fake. The entire world is fake. I'm not even a main character. I'm just this idiot who's in the background.
At number 3, morality. Materialism reduces morality to evolution, just survival instincts dressed up as ethics. But that doesn't fit our experience. We all know torturing a child for fun is wrong, not just inconvenient, not just unhelpful, but objectively evil. And we believe human life has value, not because it's useful, but because it's human. If materialism is true, those convictions are illusions, just chemical reactions in our heads. But morality feels like law, and where there's law, there must be a lawgiver. This is a crack you can't ignore because it runs through every human heart. Sadly, the world is deceived by powerful people that do despicable things to little children and then do philanthropic works before the rest of the world to convince the NPCs they're actually good people. But those are the very same people that pushed Darwinian evolution in the public school systems because it would be much easier to control the masses, all the while making the Christians look like the guilty ones. Ned Flanders from The Simpsons.
We want you to teach alternative theories to Darwinian evolution. You mean Lamarckian evolution? No, the Adam and Eve one. And what if I say no? I believe you leased your Camry from Christian Brothers Auto. No, that was a once-in-a-lifetime APR.
I'm talking about the Freemasons, but I digress. At number 2, the origin of the universe and fine-tuning. Materialism says matter is all there is, but matter itself had a beginning. The Big Bang shows time, space, and matter all exploded into being from nothing. Nothing! That alone is devastating to a worldview built on matter. But then add fine-tuning. The laws of physics are so precise that even the tiniest variation would make life impossible. If gravity were just a little stronger or weaker, no stars, no planets, no life. Sir Fred Hoyle, a world-renowned astrophysicist and no friend of Christianity, famously admitted, "It looks like a super intellect has monkeyed with physics as well as with chemistry and biology." That's coming from a non-believer, guys. So what does materialism do with this? It punts it to the multiverse theories. Maybe there's an infinite universe and we just got lucky. But that's not science. That's speculation, Doctor Strange.
Wait, I thought you were the Sorcerer Supreme.
No, he got it on a technicality because I blipped for 5 years.
Oh, well, congratulations.
If I'd been here, then I
Burn
would
the place down.
The evidence we have says the universe had a beginning and that it's fine-tuned for life. This really reminds me of Louis Pasteur's quote, "A bit of science distances one from God, but much science nears one to him." Are you being drawn closer, or are you just being repulsed at how much I'm destroying your worldview and arguments? Either way, moving on. And finally, number 1, consciousness. This is the hardest problem of all. You can describe every chemical in the brain, every neuron firing, but you still can't explain why it feels like something to be you. Atoms don't have thoughts. Molecules don't dream. Yet here you are experiencing love, music, color, meaning. Even atheist philosophers like Thomas Nagel admit consciousness may never be explained by materialism because just maybe consciousness was never material to begin with. This is the deepest crack in the materialist story and it shakes the whole foundation. The man with the current highest IQ in the world, Young-Hoon Kim, once likened the soul or your consciousness to quantum entanglement in astrophysics. Just as two molecules are tied together, regardless of the distance between them, one molecule is impacted by the other. Young-Hoon believes this is the closest representation of how our souls are quantumly entangled with our Creator. But through our carnality, we as humans willingly break that bridge by embracing our own will over God. So when you look at the cracks from paranormal to near-death experiences to morality to the origin of the universe and finally consciousness, you realize materialism can't carry the weight of reality. The rabbit hole goes much deeper than atoms and chemistry, and at the bottom, you just might find God. Science is a tool to discover the truth. Scientism, on the other hand, is a belief system that believes the scientific method and materialism is the only way to explain everything without suggesting an intelligence behind the universe. When your worldview can be destroyed with just these 5 points, understand that while you call Christians dogmatic and rigid, the atheist comfortably locks themselves inside a box of scientism as if that was actually science. If you're going to do science, math, or any discipline for that matter, you have to consider all the variables. You can't just be like these secular materialists and simply reject and avoid everything that your paradigm can't account for. Stop running away, world, and address these things head on. I don't make these videos to hurt your feelings, but love ain't all rainbows, daisies, and butterflies either. One must realize how foolish he is before he can humble himself and actually begin to learn. If this video didn't just get under your skin but actually opened your eyes, then please like, share, and follow for more. But until next time, the Faceless Prophet out.
If he were telling the truth, he wouldn't have told us.
Unless, of course, he knew you wouldn't believe the truth, even if he told us.